Welcome to the Project with Sam and Lewis, the podcast with the mission to cover every project throughout pop culture and history. I'm Sam.
And I'm Lewis.
And on today's episode, we're going to be taking a look at the Lazarus Project.
Yeah, from 2008 with a certain Paul Walker.
Yeah, kind of psychological thriller.
I believe that's what Google describes it as.
Otherwise known as If Shutter Island Was Boring.
Whoa!
Spoiler alert! I mean, if you watch the trailer, which we did about 5 minutes ago,
The trailer was fun.
It was fun, but it also spoils
everything.
that kind of element of it. But if you want to skip ahead, we've got time codes in the episode description. Before that, how are you, Lewis?
Yeah, pretty good. I can't remember the last time we recorded. It was last week, wasn't it?
I think Thursday last week.
Yeah.
Not that anyone needs to know that, but
no.
yeah.
Fine. Just it's the week. It's a few days before payday, so it's
classic kind of clutch
yeah
moments.
Yeah.
Neither of us have any money, so we'll start a little GoFundMe or a Patreon.
It's my mum's birthday tomorrow.
I think you're gonna say today. Woo!
I did panic for a second.
Quickly pause and give her a quick phone call.
Yeah. But yeah, how are you?
Yeah, not too bad. Yeah. Had a couple of birthdays over the weekend, not my own.
As we joked about last week.
Yeah, Amy's and my mum's both over the weekend, so kind of busy. Didn't get much chance to do non-party stuff. But
oh no, poor you, so busy partying.
But pretty good. Had a work due on Tuesday, so I've been so busy.
So partying, 24-hour party person.
No, that's me. Yeah, and I'm just recovering from all the socializing.
Yes.
I was going to say activity, but yeah. Normally we'd go into some project news, Lewis. How have you got any How have you got that?
How have you got that? I got it by Googling the word project and seeing what came up. Although a couple of them I didn't do that. I looked for... So there's one funny one in the middle.
Okay, cool.
So the first one, we don't spend too much time on, but it's going back to a bit of project news we talked about before. So I thought
nice.
worth mentioning.
Yeah, good.
Germany puts a stop to Nord Stream 2 project as key Russian natural gas pipeline.
Right. Okay.
So,
right.
We talked about before about how they're building a new pipeline from Russia to Germany.
We did.
Since then, things have changed a bit.
Yes. Probably don't need to go into it too much, but we're kind of in the midst of a war.
Effectively. I kept seeing Nord Stream on like the news, and I was like, we spoke about that. I have to bring that up.
Yeah.
So anyone that's living under a rock and just listening to the project, Russia have gone into Ukraine.
Yeah, full on invasion. And pretty much this morning, really, wasn't it?
I think yesterday, yeah. But
as of recording, so
amongst many sanctions against Russia relating to us, they've cancelled the Nord Stream 2 project, or at least paused it for now.
Yeah.
So I just thought, because we spoke about it and we said we'd see how it goes.
Yeah, and we are seeing how it went.
Yeah, turns out some bigger news made it relevant.
Yeah. I hope any listeners in Ukraine are doing well. It sounds awful, obviously.
Yeah,
I don't need to. It's not our topic. We're not going to go into it too much.
No, but
obviously wish everyone well in any kind of awful situation, which I'm sure will probably keep going for at least a bit before it gets any better. But
it's very unfortunate, but again, we're not here for that.
No, but thanks for bringing it to our attention.
Yes. It'd be weird not to talk about it.
No, it would be.
So here's a more light-hearted bit of news.
Lovely.
Eden Project co-founder apologizes for comments about Cornwall.
Oh God, okay.
So the co-founder of the Eden Project, which we've talked about before.
Yeah, I visited over the summer,
he's apologised for comments about Cornwall after labelling quite a few of the locals as tossers.
Wow. I thought it was going to be like yokels or like, country folk or whatever, but no, tossers is quite...
yes. Yeah. Apparently he's close friends with Rick Stein,
I think it
is.
Who's like a chef, cook guy, does lots of seafood. I imagine is from Cornwall.
And he's got some criticism from people in Cornwall because he presents himself as doing Cornish stuff, but he's not actually Cornish.
Right. Okay.
So
that's Rick Stein. Yeah.
Yeah. So some Cornish people have kind of had to go at him.
Right. Yeah. No, he's born in Oxfordshire.
So. And Sir Tim said that the Cornish people would represent themselves a bit more if they're a bit more fucking articulate.
Oh, bloody hell.
So, and like, the Eden Project's not far from Cornwall.
No, I mean, it's in Cornwall. Yeah.
That's so funny.
It's like one of the biggest modern attractions other than, the scenery, the natural things there. I think man-made wise, it's
just quite funny that he's just gone all out for Cornish people. So he's calling them tossers and said they're not fucking articulate.
That is, I don't believe that at all. I had some lovely experiences in Cornwall over the summer.
Yeah, I mean,
and I wouldn't ever say anything so horrible about people from Cornwall. Not that anyone's accusing me of that. I'm just looking to see if we've got. Yeah, I
work with.
We've had 2 Cornish listeners. Okay, I can see.
I work with some people in Cornwall, and they're all very nice.
Yeah. Lovely area.
He also said, "You've all got mums who made the best pasties in the world, and you talk about the good old days, but they've been bad for about 70 years because of tossers like you."
Fucking hell! Wow, he's got a real. He must have not been very well received in Cornwall then. I mean, I imagine the idea of it's it's kind of an eyesore. I know it's been it's turned out well, but I imagine it wasn't probably very well received at first.
Yeah.
So I can imagine he's had some run-ins with locals.
Yes.
Over his career. Yeah.
But it's quite funny. And then the final bit, which relates to what we're talking about today, the Lazarus Project.
We found out not long ago at all.
Yeah, that they're making a Lazarus Project TV show.
They are. Yes.
Completely unrelated to the film we're going to talk about today.
Did you find anything out about it?
Yes, it's on Sky. Comes out in April. It's basically about a guy who discovers he could alter time at will. Right. I think it's a bit like maybe thinking about that film we watched with they had the time travel machine.
Project Almanac.
Yeah, I think so. Like a guy who can kind of go back in time and fix things and pause time and do shit like that, which could be quite interesting as a TV series.
Yeah, and to be fair, Sky have quite a good record for TV. I know they don't always get a massive kind of viewership, but they're quite high budget TV shows generally over the last couple of years.
I feel like I don't have Sky, so I feel like I miss a lot of what they show. But
I think I've got Now TV as part of I think someone in my family has like a bundle that it comes with, so that has a lot of that stuff on, so I've got access to stuff. So
cool. So it's an 8-part thing starting in April. So we'll probably, when it comes to April, be talking about that.
Yeah, I think either we can do a couple of personal projects about it.
Yeah.
If it turns out to be particularly well received or particularly badly received, we could always do a kind of overall series overview after it's come out. Maybe
we'll try and watch it as it comes out and see what happens.
Nice. Anything else that you've got for project news?
No, that is our project news for the week.
Lovely. Well, we'll move on then to the main topic of the episode, which, as Lewis just said, is the Lazarus Project, but this time the 2008 film.
Yeah. So to start us off, before we go into details, it's an interesting Google summary this week.
Is it? Okay. I think I just started reading it then, but I've gone off the tab, so I won't spoil it for myself.
Ben Garvey, spelt wrong in this Google description, because you see his name a few times in the film.
It is spelt wrong.
Ben Garvey, a former criminal, loses his job and joins his shyster brother. He goes through countless obstacles, pain and grief. A gorgeous psychiatrist helps him find the power of his soul.
Do you think Linda Cardellini wrote that description?
I thought that.
She's like, image.
I mean, she is very attractive.
She's attractive. She's also not really in this film that much.
No.
I think she has about 3 scenes. And that's, I mean, I guess they're trying to divert subvert the expectation, kind of, unlike the trailer, which spells out the...
although I don't think she's in the trailer.
I don't think she is either, to be honest. There's a decent cast. There's a couple of people I recognise.
There is quite a cast.
You recognise quite a few people.
Yeah, I've got a list. So yeah, let's start with that.
Yeah.
Well, so it's directed and written by a guy called John Patrick Glenn, who's predominantly a screenwriter more than a director.
Right. Okay.
The most notable thing he did the screenwriting for script, yeah, was Clash of the Titans.
Right. Okay, that was quite a well received.
He also wrote a Blade Runner script in the early 2000s that was never made.
I can see that here. Yeah.
But he's got various little screenwriter stuff all over the place, but nothing. I think a lot of times he's written scripts for films that haven't then been made, or it's then been adapted.
Right. Okay.
But he's worked with like a shit ton of directors like Spielberg, Michael Bay, Scorsese, all sorts. But the cast, so the main cast, the George of the film is Paul Walker.
Yes.
People know from Fast and Furious.
Yeah, and this is 2008, so he would have been well in the middle of that at this point.
Yeah, I'm not sure if I've really seen him in anything else, but
no, I mean, the first Fast and Furious was 2001, and the sequel was not long after.
Yeah,
and I think that we would have been well in the middle at this point.
Yeah,
because it kind of took off a bit probably after this. This is probably a bit of a lull where he had a bit of a chance to make another film.
So the next highest cast person is Linda Cardellini.
Yes.
Who recently people would recognise from Hawkeye as
that's right.
The wife of Hawkeye's Laura Barton.
Laura Barton, that's right.
Obviously appeared in a few of the films and then in the TV show. She's also in Scooby-Doo as Velma.
She is, yeah.
Probably the first time I saw her in something.
I think so, yeah. She's also in Freaks and Geeks before
Freaks
that.
and Geeks. She's in Legally Blonde. She's in Brokeback Mountain as well.
Right, okay.
She's the wife of Jake Gyllenhaal's character.
Yeah, I've actually never seen Brokeback Mountain.
Have you not? It's very good.
I put it on my list on Netflix recently. I will watch it.
It is very good. So, yeah, Linda Cardellini, I think at this point she's quite recognisable.
Yes.
So it's also got Piper Perabo, who plays the wife of Paul Walker.
Yes.
Who you may recognise in The Prestige, who's the not Scarlett Johansson in The Prestige.
Yes.
You know what I mean?
I knew I recognised her, and I'd heard the name before.
Yeah.
I didn't really look into her too much, but I wouldn't have been able to place her otherwise.
She's also in Looper.
Yes. No, I saw that on the list, and I thought, I've seen that film. Oh, no, I was thinking of Jumper. With Hayden Christensen.
Loopers with Bruce Willis and Joseph Gordon-Levitt.
No, I don't remember. Is she the mum in that?
I can't remember. I've seen it once. I can't remember. And she's in Angel Has Fallen, which I haven't seen, but it was quite a big film.
You know what? I think that was actually on the list. That screenwriter that you were talking about. Oh no, Law Abiding Citizen. That was another film. With 300 guy. What's he called? Gerard Butler. Which is, I think, also Angel Has Fallen.
I saw that actually. Yeah. That's on his Wikipedia page. But if you go on Law Abiding Citizen, it doesn't mention him.
Yeah, I mean, also under his films, he's got Blade Runner version 2, which obviously never came out.
Yeah.
So,
so it's all the next person I've got is Tony Curran, who plays a character in it that we'll talk about, but I mainly recognise from Doctor Who. He plays Vincent Van Gogh.
Yes, he's also in one episode of Daredevil.
Yes, as the Irish mob boss,
and also from Daredevil. I don't know where you get to that in a second.
Well, yeah, we'll go back to that because Tony Curran's also in League of Extraordinary Gentlemen, which I forgot.
He's the Invisible Man.
Yeah. And he's in The Flash, which I haven't seen.
No, I saw that was his most recent credit on IMDb. Yeah. I think he was in a whole arc of the
Also in Daredevil is Bob Gunton, who plays Leland
Owlsley.
Yes.
Yep. I recognised him almost immediately, and I was like, "Is that him? Is that him?" And I looked up, and then when the other guy turns up as well, I was like,
"Yeah." So I recognised him, and then alumni. I suddenly recognised him from loads of things because he's the warden in Shawshank Redemption.
Right. Okay. Yeah.
He's also a character in Star Trek: The Next Generation. When he's younger, and I was like, "Oh yeah, I recognise him." People may know him from Desperate Housewives, but also he's part of the Project alumni.
Oh really?
He plays President Truman in Project Blue Book.
Really? Oh, we haven't got to that though.
Yeah, but he's the second person on the list to feature in 2 projects.
I can't remember who. I think it was a mum in something.
It was the woman who
Was it the mum from Almanac, maybe?
And she was in Project Power as the boss at the end, who was leading the corporation.
Right, yeah, the kind of not character that turned up.
Bob Gunton joins the Project Hall of Fame.
Yeah, we should make some.
I can't remember.
Page.
I don't think Truman's in the episode we watched.
No.
We see Kennedy.
Kennedy's in it, so it would not be. Truman.
I think he's at the start of the series when it kicks off.
That would make sense. Yeah. I did enjoy Blue Book actually.
Yeah,
I'd like to revisit that.
It's a shame we watched the last episode.
I know, but this is why I think when we've talked about episodes since, we've started at the beginning instead of the end, because there's
apart
a bit more
from MC Squared, because we're never going to watch more.
Yeah, we have to look at it as are we ever going to want to watch more of this?
Yeah. And the final person I recognise, Lambert Wilson, who is the Merovingian in the Matrix.
Absolutely, yeah.
And I don't think I ever learned his name in this. In all my notes, he's just the Merovingian.
He's called Avery.
Oh, okay. Well, if I go through this film talking about the Merovingian, I'm talking about Avery.
Yeah.
So the final bits, it had a budget of $3 million, which is pretty low, but I guess it's all in the woods and at night, isn't it?
Yeah. And there's kind of three main sets. There's the house from the start, then there's the woods, and then there's the hospital kind of. Yeah. It's like a facility hospital with a chapel kind of thing.
But from that $3 million, it got a $38 million box office, which is pretty good. It was fairly successful.
Did quite well, yeah.
Yeah, over 10 times its budget.
Did it get a cinema release, or was it?
I think it must have got
like a limited.
Limited. Well, if it got $38 million, it must have had.
True, yeah.
But I kept seeing like DVD stuff.
Yeah, because when we watched that trailer earlier, it said on DVD now or soon or something.
Yeah.
Like that.
So the final bits, on Rotten Tomatoes. Do you want to have a guess of what it got?
I think it's like 50 something.
60%.
Okay.
Which is better than it means most people reviewed it, liked it.
I think it's better than it deserves, to be honest.
And IMDb got obviously between 6 and 7.
Yeah.
It got 6.1. So
yeah.
On the lower end. But yeah, so that is the behind the scenes stuff.
Yes.
Let's get into it.
Let's get into it. Yeah.
So it starts with a scene of Paul Walker talking to his daughter.
Yes.
And he's talking about the greatest thing he ever saw.
Yeah, she asked him the question. And he goes off on this story.
The greatest thing he ever saw was when he shot down a bird with a slingshot.
Yeah, and then he's also like, but I was really ashamed of it. Oh no, it was because he prayed to God that it would come back to life, and it did.
It did. Foreshadowing?
Yeah, I was like, wow, and actually the story comes back about 3 times in the film.
Yeah.
So they really got their use out of it. He's Ben Garvey, isn't he?
Ben Garvey, yeah. And after that, it's kind of mentioned that it's his last day of parole.
Yeah, and him and his wife, Lisa, they celebrate by having sex.
Yeah, they do. I've just written sex here.
Yeah.
So yeah, all right, so this film, straight in from the thing, it's got like a million scenes. Every scene in this film lasts about 30 seconds. So where like I've written my notes, it's just tons and tons of paragraphs.
I've got masses of notes.
Because it's just like...
But I didn't know what was going to be relevant.
Exactly. So it's just like 30 seconds, move on. 30 seconds, move on. And I'm just like, what the hell is going on? But yeah.
Yeah, I've got like 3.5 pages of notes on Google Docs. I think
this is the earliest we've gone off being like, oh...
Wow. But it's his last day of parole. He did some sort of burglary in the past.
Yeah.
He's like good with, although it doesn't really come up much, he's good with locks and
like
alarms,
wires,
like electrical stuff.
He
works in a brewery, is it?
It's some sort of factory but yeah.
Bottles there.
But he's good at his job. He's doing well.
He has a really weirdly stilted conversation with his boss. Yeah. Where he walks in and it's weirdly edited where he's like, did you hear about the crash? And then the boss is like, yes, how's your little angel daughter?
Yeah.
And then it moves really weirdly. The pacing of this film
is all over
the place.
Not helped by these 30-second scenes for like an hour and a half.
His wife, Lisa, mentions what she wants to take. Is it like realty classes?
Yes.
And then she wants to move out of the city.
Yeah, so...
She's got ambitions.
But I think the course to do it is like $1,100.
Yeah. And he's like, I think the opinion is like, we can just about make it kind of thing. But then,
and he's got a chance for a promotion at work coming up, which would really help.
That's it. Okay, yes, that's what happens.
But they've setting out their plans of like moving to the country and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And then a car pulls up.
I'm pretty sure it's also the same car that Vin Diesel drives in the Fast and Furious films. So when it pulled up, I was like, "Is Dom Toretto going to get out?"
Could you imagine?
But no.
Turns out it's a secret Fast and Furious film. Oh, that would have been great.
To be fair, it pretty much plays like the start of a Fast and Furious film, like before the shit kicks off.
So his brothers arrived, and he's to the surprise of Ben and Lisa.
Ricky.
He's just come out of prison.
Yeah, for burglary stuff. They let him out early or something, maybe.
Yeah, and Lisa doesn't like him at all.
No,
she's very kind of standoffish.
Yeah.
And they kind of have I've written a note here. Ben's the name of the main character. Ricky's his brother, and Lisa's the wife.
Yeah. I had no idea what the daughter's called.
No,
I don't think they say it until like right near the end of the film. And I was like,
quite possibly. But yeah, they like have a beer, and Ricky's planning a robbery.
Yeah, it's something to do with like a warehouse lab thing that they do something with gold dust.
Yeah,
and I wasn't sure if
in
he
like
was
laptops or something.
being like, oh, it's like gold dust, but no, there's literally gold dust.
Yeah,
and there's only like a day shifts, like a night shift security guard. So it's like it's an easy job. Yeah. And he's like, no, I'm out of the game.
Yeah, because he's thinking about like his wife and kids and their plan. He's like, there's no point me doing this. I've got a steady job. Yeah. Like, this is silly. But he's like, they're still close because they're brothers.
Yeah.
And then there's some weird like flashbacky stuff.
Yeah, well, they mention like really there's lots of very very unsubtle exposition, and they're like, oh, do you ever think about our dad who killed himself? And he's like, I think about him all the time. And then he has like a weird dream of like, I think his dad shooting himself or something.
Yeah, I kind of zoned out.
And this bit, he wakes up and then he's like, ow. And then I thought he was started to try and smoke really quickly in bed, but it turns out he'd fallen asleep smoking and it had burned his finger.
Yeah, and Lisa kind of has a go at him being like, oh, you could burn the house down.
Yeah, and it that only really gets mentioned properly what happened later on.
Yeah.
So at this point, I'm like, I thought he'd woken up from a nightmare and just tried to have a cigarette or like a joint really quickly. And then she's like, what are you doing? It's like really confusing. But that's also probably because I wasn't really paying attention to it. And it's weirdly edited.
He's then back at the factory. Yeah. We're about 2 minutes into the film at this point.
Yeah, we need to keep moving.
And his boss has some bad news.
Yeah,
he's hoping for this promotion. He's hoping to go in and hear the good news. But he put him forward for the promotion, and then they found out that he used to be in prison and said, "You actually need to fire this guy."
Yeah, and he's like, "Oh, I like you. Like, surely he could just stay at his normal job, but apparently not."
Which is it's dumb that you can't ever like. What's an ex-con meant to do in this day and age?
Well, that's the thing. I think, But he goes back home, and Lisa's already bought her books for her expensive course.
Which, from what I know, in America, the books are like $300
I think
each.
part of that is the books, the cost there. He doesn't tell her and just goes to bed because he's just like depressed.
And he's like, oh, fuck, what am I going to do? So he calls Ricky his brother and is like, I'm in.
I mean, at this point, when he's lying in bed, I'm like, I have absolutely no idea what's happening in this, like where it's going.
Yeah.
Because I vaguely knew, like, from the title, Lazarus, and I'd seen something about a hospital. I was like, I assume that
this whole start bit goes on for so long.
It feels like ages. And then it kind of picks up here because he has like a weird, it's like a lock picking box, but it's like a weird little case thing. He goes and looks at in the night. It's got like a weird calculator phone thing. I think it's supposed to be like an alarm device or something.
I can't remember.
And it says like Marilyn written down the side. I don't know if that's the name of his device.
Maybe.
And then he looks at it and then he's like, yeah, I'm going to call Ricky. And then like, what does he go
Ricky picks him up and there's another guy there.
Yeah.
And he's like,
Phelps.
Phelps, and he's like, who the fuck is this? And basically it turns out Ricky owes some like mob lots of money, and Phelps comes from the mob, so he like has to come along.
He's keeping an eye on him, and they need the money tonight because basically,
like Ben's gonna like pull out.
He's like, I don't want to do it, not with this random guy. I don't trust him.
But Ricky says, like, if I don't get this money tonight, they're going to kill me.
Yeah. And he's like, great, I've got to do it now.
And it's like, yeah.
And he's like, no guns. Okay.
Yeah.
He says no guns because he doesn't want it to be dangerous. And then they break in and for some reason the brother has a grenade.
Yeah.
I mean, I guess it's a fake grenade, but
yeah,
we don't ever get anyone telling us that.
And they've got like 3 minutes to do it. And also, so they go in and Ben goes into the back because he's like the tech guy.
Yeah.
Whilst Ricky and Phelps are like holding the security guards.
He immediately takes his mask off so we can see it's Paul Walker.
Yeah. And so the security cameras can see it's Paul Walker as well.
Well, he gets caught anyway, doesn't he?
Yeah. Yeah, basically, one of the security guards reaches for a gun and Phelps takes it.
Yeah, yeah.
It's like,
and it's on the table. It's very Chekhov's gun. Yeah. The camera keeps going to it.
And there's also somebody in the back who's pressed an alarm.
Yeah, there's a lady who they miss, and she like triggers the silent alarm underneath. So even though they think they're in the clear, the cops are already on the way.
Yeah, and then the police just turn up and shoot Phelps and Ricky.
Well, the security guard also goes for like either a knife or a gun like on his ankle, and that's when Phelps picks up the gun.
Yeah,
and then when the police come in, everyone just gets shot.
Ben's in this other room and he comes out and sees Ricky dead, the security guard dead.
Yeah,
and he's like, "What?" And then gets hits on the head.
And then I quite like this bit actually. It does like the voiceover of like the judge being like, because you did a crime that led to 3 deaths. And as we're getting that, we see his car pull up and the wife sees. And then,
wife and the daughter having like breakfast.
Cops and stuff get out of the car because they drove the car.
Yeah, and this is it, right. So like his sentence is death. And I know this is Texas.
Yeah,
but they're like,
Texas,
they're like, oh, somebody you with shot a policeman, therefore you get killed. And I'm like, that seems harsh.
It's because it led to 3 deaths. So...
And surely, but one of them was his. 2 of them were like his mates.
But his part in it, I don't know.
Like, surely he would have explained, and his lawyer would explain that he didn't think there was a gun. He said no guns.
Yeah, I liked how quick they did that part, and they didn't drag it out. And we saw her reaction to it, which is kind of mirrored later on with the ending of the film. But
and it's 2 years later then.
Yeah, I thought that's really weird as well. We're just skipping through time.
Yeah, but I guess did in America do they spend like years on death row?
Yeah, that's what the whole Green Mile thing's about and stuff, isn't it? There's lots and you get like Amnesty International style kind of letter writing campaigns and stuff to try and get people off. I think it's so that it's partly so that you've got a bit of time to like reflect. So it's kind of like the torture before the death, which is kind of...
Why give them time to reflect? Like, what are they going to reflect on? Oh, they're going to kill me anyway.
Yeah, but then you hear... I don't know. Maybe it's also so they can, like, check everything.
Yeah.
But then they probably don't, do they? Just leave them in there.
But yeah, so he's in prison.
Yes.
The appeal has failed.
Yeah, it's stuff like that. They want to make sure they've got a chance.
Yeah, and he's been visited for the last time by his wife and daughter.
Yes.
And it's basically saying, like, I'm going away for a long time. I'm never coming back.
Yeah.
Which is more than a long time. Like, that is forever.
Yeah, there's another Jaybird story comparison. I think he says, I did something that I didn't mean to do. And she's like the Jaybird? And he's like, yeah, just like that. And it's like lots of sad Paul Walker. I thought this bit was actually quite, like, you know, it was probably the most...
Yeah, but also I was like, I just want this bit to be like over and done.
Relatively speaking, it was the most emotional scene of the film. I mean, it wasn't very emotional because he's doing kind of like a scrunched up, like...
Yeah. But yeah, so he's taken to get killed. He's strapped down.
Lethal injection.
Yeah, and...
Is the crucifix... kind of metaphor intentional with the executions?
I have no idea because I've never
like
seen a lethal injection execution.
No, but I feel like I've seen it in programs before. In this, anyway, he's spread out on like a cross-shaped bed, isn't he?
Yeah.
And then they've got the things in the arms, and you see like the 3 or 4 syringes or whatever go down.
Yeah,
it's all very dramatic, and he effectively dies.
He's dead. But I was like, "Wow, that was a quick film."
Yeah. If only, yeah.
If only.
Yeah.
I think already by this point, I was like, oh, I wish that was the ending.
Yeah, I mean, it doesn't really explain what happens between here and the next part, does it?
No, intentionally.
Yeah, but even by the end.
Yeah.
We don't know how it...
So the next thing we see is a man walking down a road in the middle of nowhere, which is Ben.
He's got a hood on and he's well, we don't know it's him. First of all, it's got a hood and it's raining, and this like pickup truck pulls up. With this guy who's the Owlsley guy from Daredevil.
He's called Ezra.
And he's a priest, is he?
He's a priest, yeah.
Yeah. And he offers him a lift, and then we see
he pulls his hood down. It's like, oh, Ben's alive, to the surprise of everyone. And the priest, Ezra's like, oh, you must be the new groundskeeper. And he's like, yes, I am. And then we get some like flashbacks again.
Yeah, well, throughout this bit, he's being shown around the grounds and he's being shown the chapel. And they don't really explain that it's like a mental health facility.
No.
At all. We kind of just get the patients out of nowhere later.
Yeah.
But throughout this, we get flashes of this Merovingian guy and like kind of it keeps going back to the execution stuff throughout. It?
So like when I say flashbacks, it's literally like 1 second of just like 20 shots just showing up on screen very quickly. It's
very like early 2000s kind. I know this is 2008, but like I feel it's almost dated even for this.
Yeah, and you can't even really tell what the flashbacks are for most of it.
And they do like the weird, almost like an Instagram filter where it's oversaturated to make it like edgy. Yeah, it feels more like a TV show style editing, doesn't it? Really.
But yeah, there's some like mystery doors in the chapel and stuff that you can't get in. He sees a man down the corridor who then disappears.
Yes. And then he gets visited by this Merovingian guy who's called Avery.
Yes.
And he comes to his cabin, and he's very mysterious, and he talks about him having a second chance.
He says like, "Oh, I'm your guide."
Yeah, and he never explicitly talks about being like an angel, but they kind of like.
Yeah,
Paul Walker kind of comes to this conclusion like a couple of scenes later.
Yeah, and like Ben Garvey just wants to go back to his family.
Yeah, this is the weird thing. He remembers everything, but he doesn't know how he got there.
He remembers everything. He remembers what we've seen, basically.
But it's not played off as like he's never like, what? Where am I? Like, and they should be like, oh, you're the new groundskeeper. Oh, am I? Okay. Like he knows he's gonna be the groundskeeper. It doesn't make any sense.
Yeah. It's weird. But yeah, the Merovingian tells him you died, so you can't see them again.
He says you can't go back to your family, you need to pay for your crimes.
The only thing outside of here is death.
It's taking itself very seriously.
Yeah, and the Merovingian is like quite like cryptic and like I was like, he does kind of seem like a Matrix character.
Yeah.
But maybe more like the architect than the Merovingian.
Yeah. It's very like babbly. It's just like and he even says at one like it doesn't. I'd rather it went more into the religious stuff. It like skirts with it, and it's kind of like there's a bit of imagery later, but it's more just like it's set in like kind of near a church.
Yeah, it's set in like the middle of nowhere in Oregon.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's a psychiatric hospital.
Yes.
And he's talking to this other guy. He's doing groundskeeping, and there's this other guy there who's like, I'm not crazy.
And the reason we know he's got something wrong with him is he keeps putting his hand up.
He's got like a twitch.
He's got his hand as like kind of like a a twitch.
And he basically says like, there's people watching us.
Yes. In a very kind of paranoid manner.
But he's very like calm and nice.
Yeah.
And then he's called Robbie.
Yeah.
He asked Ben like, oh, do you think I'm crazy? And Ben's like, no, I don't think you're crazy.
Yeah.
And it's like, well, I don't think you'd be there if you weren't crazy.
But also, he just seems like he's working there like Ben.
Yes. So at this point, I've written, is this Shutter Island?
Yeah. So I didn't really have that realization until we get the reveal that.
Really? See, from this moment onwards, I was just waiting for the twist.
But the thing is, it was because it's handled so badly. Like they don't guide him enough. He's got so much free reign. Like they do some like playing around with. There's the bus bit later. And stuff. But most of the time, like he's not. They're supposedly watching him.
Well, it's like on Shutter Island, it's on an island that you can't escape.
Yeah, and he's being like led around, and there's this. I know it's just because it's a better made film, and the directing and editing is all much better. But with this, it just feels like he's just wandering around, getting on with it, and he doesn't seem that bothered by anything.
Yeah,
I know that's because Paul Walker, he's a fairly middle of the road actor. Like he's not the most expressive.
Like it feels bad to say because obviously he tragically died young.
Yeah,
but he's a very limited actor.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like he's good in Fast and Furious because that character suits him.
That's exactly it. Yeah.
In this, he's not Leonardo DiCaprio, is
no,
he?
he needed to have more of a calm to kind of unhinged arc where he's kind of just playing
the same the whole way.
He's just the same that like from the start to the end.
Yeah.
We meet the other patient, don't we?
Yes, he gets tackled by a guy with a needle who's Tony Curran.
Yes.
Who's called William.
That's right.
I don't know why I remembered all the names for this one.
I found it out later, but yeah.
And
this is when I realised that it's some sort of mental health facility because we don't see anyone in patient outfits until that point, and then suddenly there's orderlies there.
Yeah,
I'm like, okay. He tries to call Lisa. He calls the like operator, and they say, "Oh, there's no listing for Lisa Garvey
in Dallas, Texas." Yeah.
Linda Cardinelli gets.
Yeah, he meets Julie. She's called. I've written here.
That's right. I've got that there. Yeah.
I think for the rest of my notes, I call her Linda Cardinelli.
What is it, Linda
Cardellini.
Yeah, I'm trying to remember. I've got it in front of me.
Cardellini.
She's one of the counselors.
And she says, "Welcome to Mount Angel." So I guess this psychiatric hospital's called Mount Angel.
Right. Okay. So that's
another. Get it? Did you get it? He's dead. It's called Mount Angel, and he's dead.
I don't know if you got the trivia about what it was originally called.
Yes.
It was originally called
the Heaven Project.
The Heaven Project. So
get it because he's dead.
But that's the thing; they don't lean into it. Like
no.
I even thought Avery is kind of like because like an aviary is like a bird cage.
Yeah.
I was thinking there's kind of like angelic themes there.
Yeah.
But like they don't do anything with it at all.
It's like it's one of those where every like 5 minutes they'll mention something about religion, but it's not actually a theme throughout. They just mention it every now and then without making it.
That's the thing. There's
go throughout.
There's no themes in this at all.
No,
he doesn't. Okay, the theme is that he regrets. Oh, and Bird, Avery, Angel. Maybe there are some themes. The themes are birds and slight regret. Like he doesn't care that his brother died at all.
No, it's not mentioned at all. And the thing is, he doesn't even regret the robbery. He's just sad he can't see his family.
Yeah, it's
like he's not sad that like people died. He's just like, I want to see my wife and daughter.
Yeah. What is it happens? Oh, the patient threatens him again.
Yeah, William like grabs him like through a fence, and Priest Ezra tells him that's Building 5. People who can't be controlled, stay away from there.
Right, even though William was in the main building just before.
Yeah, I think William escapes a lot.
Yeah, I think we find out, don't we?
Because the security's shit at this place.
Yeah, or is it intentional to try and spook him? Who knows?
Yeah,
really.
So
he's out at a diner.
Yeah, at this point, Joe, what?
This is what I meant. Why is he allowed out to a diner?
Yeah,
do they have
there's like a nearby town.
Do they know?
At this point something popped up on my phone as I was watching it, and I replied to like a message on Facebook, and then I ended up watching like a couple of videos on YouTube.
Oh, so you missed a bit.
And then I paused the film.
Oh, okay.
And I was like, and then I went to go back to watch the film, and I was literally watching like 30 seconds. I was like, oh, no, I'm gonna finish this tomorrow. I was like, after watching like some like I was flicking through YouTube shorts for the first time ever. And I was like, some of these are quite fun.
Basically TikTok, isn't it?
Yeah. And then I went back and I was like, oh, this is so boring. I'm gonna watch this tomorrow. So I literally got half an hour into the film.
Fair enough. About a third of the way then.
Yeah. I've paused it earlier in films before.
Yeah.
But yeah,
he thinks he sees his daughter. It's not his daughter.
Yeah.
Which I guess is supposed to be like, is he insane?
Yeah.
And then I've written here that he's allowed a lot of free reign considering he's supposed to be dead, which is completely valid, I think.
Yeah, like there's a small town there. Like, what if somebody
they should have said like, oh, like, you know, to skip ahead a bit, they should have been like, we control the town, everyone works for us, you know, like a bit of a Shutter Island thing.
Yeah.
I don't think that's the case.
No, I think it's just the town.
There's this strange conspiracy that seems to cover multiple states, some sort of, I don't know, deep state federal thing.
Yeah.
And yet he's allowed to just wander around and go to a diner and have like weird mental breaks where he sees his daughter.
Yeah.
And he walks around in the forest, meets a dog. Like,
yeah, so that's the next bit. The woods is like creepy. Like half this film is set at night,
and half it is him walking along the path up to his cabin.
He lives in a cabin in the woods,
but it's not that scary. Like,
no,
I mean, there's
like they build up the music and have like fake jump scares, but you never actually believe it.
No, and after a while, it just the tension's gone.
Yeah,
like there's a bit where you hear noises outside, and he goes outside, and he's like, "Who's there?" And it's like,
yeah,
I don't care at this point.
But yeah, so he meets a dog. The dog follows him. He tries to make it go away, and then eventually adopts the dog. Yeah, the dog's like digging outside the front, and he fills it in.
This, but yeah, he keeps digging. There's a point in front,
and
of
he
dog.
starts talking to the dog about charcoal drawings.
He talks to. I guess he misses his daughter, and he used to talk to his daughter. But
and he's drawing lots of charcoal drawings. One of them falls off the table and like falls under because it's a wood cabin. Falls under a crack at the bottom, and he can't get to it. It's kind of
like a cabinet, like a kitchen surface kind of thing.
Yeah,
whatever you call it.
He goes to like the library at the hospital to look up his wife.
Yes.
And can't find any record of Lisa Garvey.
He looks up like on a realty website, like
I think it's just a database at first.
Oh, okay.
But then he looks up her maiden name of Lisa Madison, I think.
Something like that, yeah.
And it comes up with this real estate thing. And it's a video of her and her daughter being like, "Oh, I'm a real estate agent. I know the business because
Lewis is doing like gangster hands while he's talking.
Yo,
Li
to the S-A Madison in the house." It's literally that. You can, if you watch the film, that's exactly what she says.
That is absolutely spot. And the kid's got like a backwards hat on. Just skateboarding.
She's like, "Don't fuck with me, bitches."
Their life has really changed since Daddy Paul went to prison.
Daddy Paul. But yeah, he's quite happy to see that she's doing real estate stuff.
Yeah.
Although again, it's like, how quickly did she get into doing that? How did she pay for that? Well, none of this makes any sense.
He was in prison for 2 years, and she said it was 5 months of studying. So I guess
makes sense.
Get.
So he's like, "Fuck it, I need to go see them," and he jumps on a bus to Texas.
Before that, he sees like a homeless guy looking through a bin.
Yeah.
And then did you see this bit?
Yeah, there's like a creepy guy in the distance.
Yeah, and then the shadow has like big wings coming out.
Oh, really?
Yeah, and it's like, and he's like, "Ah!"
I didn't notice that at all. I just saw some guy.
Yeah, there's like, because he mentions later on about seeing like an angel.
I do need to get new contacts. I still got new contacts. My prescription is it should be way worse than what I'm wearing, so I don't see everything.
Right. Okay, fair enough.
I would wear my glasses, but they've got the same problem. But yeah, he gets on this bus. And he's gonna like go get a bus to Texas.
Yeah, they're a little way into the journey.
And then the Merovingian gets on the bus.
Avery gets on.
And tells him, "You shouldn't be on this bus." And he's like, "I want to go see my wife."
And he does a whole serious thing where he's like, "There's only death if you follow this path."
And he's talking about like death being like a person. He's like, "Death is here. You can't cheat him a second time."
That's right. Yeah, it's as if it's a bit Final Destination. It's like he's been given a chance.
And he says like, "If you stay on this bus, you will never see your family again."
Yeah.
So they both get off the bus.
He just believes this random guy and gets off.
Yeah.
And then he's just like getting on with his like.
Yeah, he's like shopping and stuff. He's buying like paints, I think.
Yeah, because I guess he's an artist, which we never saw at the start.
He just likes his charcoal, and now he's buying other paints.
That was never a thing. He never painted with his kid or anything.
And Linda Cardellini's there.
Yeah, and they start having a bit of a thing.
And they're like, "Let's make dinner plans."
Yeah.
And then I've got written here in all caps, "This is so boring." I've got that very soon. It's so painful because I just like, I don't care. And as I said, all these scenes are so come and go.
Oh yeah.
It doesn't go into any depth. It's just like, for fuck's sake.
My note when they go for a walk later is in caps. This film is boring.
It's so boring.
I think this might be the most boring film we've watched.
It's by far the most boring film we watched. We've watched some shit, but at least they weren't boring.
The thing is, it was short, but it didn't feel short.
It felt so long.
So in this scene with Julie, we get the cigarette burn story, but which doesn't make any sense. He's got a bandage. But he was in prison for 2 years. Why does he have another bandage?
I don't think the bandage is from the cigarette.
But she says, "Oh, do you smoke?"
Yeah, I think it's just unrelated, isn't it? That's how I'd take it anyway.
And then he goes like, "Oh no, I used to smoke, but then I almost burned the house down because I was smoking in bed." And I'm like, right, that explains that weird scene where he woke up and tried to have a cigarette in the middle of the night.
Yeah, she's moved here recently, blah 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 blah. Yeah. They leave and he sees a newspaper that says
the bus
has crashed and killed 20. Yeah. And he's like, oh, that's the bus the Merovingian told me to get off.
The driver was drunk or something. And then there's some I've written here, is Avery an angel? But I don't know if I put that into it or if that was something that was implied at this point.
I think, well, I didn't pick it up on it, but I think it is implied.
Yeah.
So he's walking through the creepy woods again.
Yeah. And there's a figure in a hood.
Just as he gets to his cabin, he sees the woods and he's like, shout at him, and he like runs off and he goes up to where he was standing. And there's like a drawing in the tree. It's like carved. It's like a person.
It's like a stick man.
A stick man with a circle
bit
around
Blair Witchy. Yeah.
Yeah.
We see it later on more clearly, and it's got like a snake biting the arm.
Yeah.
But in the first time you see it, it just looks like a stick man in a circle, almost like a peace symbol, isn't it?
Yeah, but with a person.
With a person with like a head as well.
So he's walking around seeing the patients at this point.
Yeah.
And he visits William.
He's like a handyman as well as a groundskeeper, isn't he? Occasionally he's like fixing a sink, but most of the time he's just wandering around,
just raking leaves,
doing plot things.
Yeah,
going from one plot to another.
Yeah, he doesn't seem to work.
Which is, if he was more on rails, it would work. Like in Shutter Island, where it feels like he's being taken from one place to another.
Yeah,
and when he's going off the predicted track, it starts feeling like he shouldn't be there. In this, he's just like. It's like a game where there's no objectives and you're just wandering around.
And most of this film is set at night, so I guess during the day he's doing all his groundskeeping stuff, but you don't really see that.
No.
We also don't really have much time scale.
Like, even if you think about one of the things I always think about with Shutter Island is like the weird bits where maybe it's not very PC with mental health now, but you see like the weird looking old people like staring at him while he's
it's creepy.
And it's creepy. Whereas in this, there's like 4 people who work there.
And we only meet 2 patients. One of
them's not a patient, he's the guy who works there, Robbie.
He's a patient.
But he's also like, he works there as well. He's not got like the white outfit.
Yeah, and then we meet William, who's just
like a mental guy, basically.
Yeah, who's like aggressively mental.
You're gonna watch out for him. He's from Building 5, but the aggressively mental people.
Right. He's aggressive.
Satire.
So he goes to see William and he's like, yo, what's the symbol
Yo, what's up, Willie?
What's the symbol you drew on my tree? And he's like, I didn't draw on your tree. And he's like,
I'm stuck in here, how could I have done it?
But he's like, it's the same symbol that's on your wrist. And he's like, oh yeah. He's not, but
no, but it is though, isn't it?
It is the same symbol. Yeah. And then he says to him, you're just like me.
Yeah, and it's like, oh yeah. And he also says, I killed a man for no reason. He was just in a house and I went and killed him.
Cool.
Like, cool. Yeah.
Cool. So yeah, then he's back raking leaves.
Is that the bit when he's like, I've got a son that I don't ever see? Or is that later on? That's later on when he's escaped. Doesn't matter.
But yeah, he's with Robbie again, and he's kind of a bit pissed off at this point. And Robbie's like, oh, people are watching. And Ben gets really pissed off and like shouts at him like, nobody's watching. And he's like, that's why you're here, Robbie, because you keep thinking people are watching you.
Yeah.
And Robbie's just like, you're here too. Which, like, considering the twist, makes sense. But also it's just like, he is there. Like, he works there. Like, I was kind of originally took it as like, yeah, he's there because he works there.
Yeah, I mean, I just thought it was a bit unnecessarily harsh that he just
starts shouting.
I think he says he's like insane or something, doesn't he?
Yeah.
Or like you're like handicapped or something, I don't know.
Yeah. And then Ezra,
we find out, about Robbie from Ezra, don't we?
Yeah, Ezra's like, oh, can you help me pick up a sofa? And as I drive in there, he's like, oh yeah, Robbie killed his father and burnt his house down.
Yeah, he like stabbed his dad to death like 30 times or something.
Yeah,
and then what happens here? There's like a van that's like a telephone.
I thought this was going to be important, but I don't think it is.
Okay, so they get out of the car. And
so they put the sofa on the back of the truck, and Ezra's like, oh, I'm just going to go in and say bye to my mate.
You were gonna say his name like Steve then.
And Ben's just like, and then he sees a guy on the opposite side of the road, like putting something in the back of the van. And he's like, oh, what's going on there? And then like he walks up, and then the van drives off, and I was like,
well, he starts trying to cross the road, and then a car like.
Sam, he knocked over a lamp with his extravagant hand movements. There, whoa.
Yeah, and then a car almost hits him, and it would have been the perfect moment for the van to drive away. But no, the van's kind of still there.
Yeah.
And then I think Ezra's like, "Hey, come back here," and he's like, "Okay."
And then the van drives off. And
there is like a suspicious-looking guy.
Yeah,
with, like, overalls.
This is really suspicious, but I have no idea what this.
And this is what I mean about
what's
like,
going on.
And that's the thing. If Paul Walker was more like, "This is weird," then it would work. But he's just like, "Okay." It's like, maybe you are mentally handicapped.
Haven't finished the film and going back to it. Like, I still don't know what's the point of this van.
I think it was supposed to be like a bit of like the weird old people looking at Leonardo DiCaprio.
But he
in
was
the film Shutter Island.
He was watching the guy in the van. The guy in the van was just.
No, I think he's like looking back at him like as if he's like being watched, and he's like hurrying with his work.
It's silly.
Yeah, it doesn't. Yeah, I'd forgotten about that, to be honest. I didn't even write, and I wrote telephone company van ? Oh, you know what I thought it was at the time? I thought it was like, they've got people working for the telephone company. Because he phoned up the directory and they wouldn't give him his wife's number. It's like, that'll be why, because they haven't got who works for the telephone.
Nope, it's just some guy. But yeah, then he goes to
also,
see.
He's got a rash.
Yeah, he goes see the doctor. He's saying he's not sleeping. We find out why that is.
Yeah, but did we know before this that he had a rash?
No. The doctor says, "Oh, it's poison ivy. Here's some pills. Also, you can't sleep. Here's some more pills. Pills.
Pills.
And here's where I've made another note. Just like every scene lasts 30 seconds.
Well, this is where Julie and Ben go for a walk, and I've written, "This film is boring."
Yeah. And she's like, "What is your dog called?" And he says, "Dog." I've always thought that's quite a fun idea. Yeah. I'm not going to do that now. It's in this film because this is a bad film, and they've used that idea.
Well, they just walk up to like a cliff, don't they?
Yeah.
And they're just talking.
It's like a big rock, and they look over, and it's just like forest as far as they can see. And she's like, "Wow, do you come up here often?" He's like, "Yep." And I was like, "We've never seen that." Do you? He's like, "I come up here all the time to think." I'm like, "What? How long have you been here?"
I've never seen it either. Like he's never. They could have done at least one scene of him taking the dog for a walk. He's never taken the dog for a walk.
No, but apparently he goes up to this rock all the time to think.
Oh, bloody hell. And then there's a scene where he's doing some work because they say, "Oh, the disposal's backed up. Go fix it."
Yeah, and
like
he sees somebody in like it's back with those like in the chapel where there's corridors and locked rooms,
kind of weird, like not catacombs, but like weird.
And he sees someone walking around, and then he leaves, and the music builds up, and it's like, and then someone jumps him, and it's just like Ezra and the orderlies, and they're like, "Oh yeah, William's escaped." The jump scare would have been better if we'd known William had escaped already.
Well, we saw the hooded person.
Yeah, but we, probably the Merovingian.
No, I think it was William.
Yeah, so do I, but like it could have been.
Because for some reason, the asylum uniform for the most, aggressively mental people is a white hood that they can put up creepily and stand in corridors. Don't know why that would be the case.
So he goes back to the cabin.
I guess white stands out. They can't hide as well.
Yeah.
But maybe don't. But also the orderlies have white as well.
Yeah, it's dumb.
That's confusing, isn't it?
Dumb. So they're back at the cabin, and like the dog's barking, and he goes out and there's a man in the woods, and he like follows him, and it's William.
I've got same old.
Yeah, and that's when William tells the story. He's like, I miss my son. I can't see him. Haven't seen him.
And he's standing in the place where Paul Walker always goes, on the cliff.
Yeah. And then
it's the second time we've seen this place that he loves.
Yeah. And then he kind of mentions like this, it's like a conspiracy.
Yeah.
And
this is what he's saying about they're the same person.
Yeah.
Like, not the same person, but he's like the next stage for Paul Walker. He's gonna, if he doesn't behave, he'll end up like him.
Yeah, he's like, people don't leave here. And he's kind of making out like I've been here for ages, and like I've got better, and they just haven't even thought about letting me go.
Yeah.
And he jumps off the cliff.
Yeah.
I've written here, it's always nighttime in this film. Like, the sun never rises in Oregon.
No sunrise in Oregon.
Yeah, so then like people come up and take William's body away, and Ben's really sad about it because he'd just seen a man kill himself.
Yeah, fair enough. Julie comes round to console him.
Yeah, and he makes her dinner and
some beer.
And she's like, "What do you think of Dundee? The town's called Dundee, in Oregon, not Scotland."
Yes.
And he's like, I think no, she says like, "Oh, it's boring, but the people are nice." And then he kisses her, and I was like, his whole attitude, his whole deal is that he misses his wife, and he's trying to get back to his wife, so he just kisses Linda Cardellini.
Yeah, and then he's like, "Oh, I'm sorry,"
and she's like, "Oh, I better leave."
But also, she doesn't really get a chance to react.
No, she just gets up and leaves.
Yeah, well, I guess that's her reaction. Yeah, fair enough.
Yeah, and then the next day he's playing fetch with Dog.
With a frisbee,
yeah. And he throws the frisbee, he gets stuck in a tree, and he's like, "Oh, damn it, I'll get you a new one."
He's like, "I'll get that later."
And then we're back at the cabin, and the back door's open.
Yeah, he's confused, and I'm confused because the editing is terrible.
And the guy that made the film's confused about how you make a film.
Yep.
And
is this Blade Runner V2, do you think? And he was a replicant the whole time? It would almost make more sense.
Yeah, maybe.
Robot dog.
Yeah. As I was thinking about that, there's some people outside laughing. I don't know if
you heard that, listeners. But
I doubt it. But yeah, so he sees a footprint out the back of the door.
Yeah.
And then it's another scene where he's then talking to Robbie.
Yeah, the tension is non-existent because
it just keeps jumping. And you're just like, ugh.
The longest scene.
It's just like, just reveal the twist. I don't care.
We're getting very close to it. Don't worry.
We are. And he asks Robbie like, who's watching? Yeah. And then he's like, are they watching me too? And he's like, yeah, they watch both of us.
Robbie's just pretty chill about it.
Yeah, Robbie's my favourite character in this.
Character,
yeah. And then
So does he go into his attic of the cabin? Is that what happens here?
First he finds a notebook like in his drawer.
Right.
And there's lots of these pictures that William drew of the stick man
with a snake.
This is where we see like a snake going into his arm.
Yeah, we can see that better.
And then they're at the cabin. The dog's barking again.
Oh, did William live there before in the cabin?
Oh, maybe. I don't know.
That would work quite well. But
we never told that.
No. But I think that would make sense.
I think it's giving too much credit to the filmmakers to say that.
But if he's like the next version, I think
But yeah, he like leaves the cabin. He's like literally screaming like, "Leave me alone!" and like throws rocks.
We
and
get
stuff.
In this bit some kind of effective like POV of like outside the window, of like as if someone's watching him through the window.
Yeah,
and he runs outside. Yeah, and he's like, "Leave me alone."
And then he like goes upstairs, and there's literally like hundreds of drawings on the wall of his wife that he's drawn in like charcoal and stuff.
Yeah, they're quite good drawings. Some of them actually.
Yeah, I wonder if Paul Walker actually did that.
I don't think so.
No, nor do I.
But this is it. That just I mean, what would have been good? Again, just pitching ideas while watching this film. If there was drawings of William's family in the thing, and then he's like
maybe just some pictures of like a small boy, and he's like, "Oh, it's William's son."
So who's this boy?
But because we've already learned that William had a son,
but instead we see like a wife, which is very clearly Piper Perabo.
He draws a lot more pictures of his wife than his daughter.
Yeah, but I was gonna say it's because he wants to have sex with his wife, but it's not the only reason you draw a picture of something, is it?
Yeah. And then he's like, "Fuck this! I can't do this anymore," and runs.
Yeah, through the woods. He packs his bag quickly, and there's like a car that was following him, and the headlights go like that's. There's some like kind of interesting stuff.
And he's with the dog, and then the dog suddenly's gone, and he's like, "Shit!" So he just keeps running,
and then he runs into a tree.
Is that what happened? I thought he tripped and fell over.
No, he just runs into like a branch and gets knocked out, or like a complete like tree log.
Yeah,
what's it called?
A branch.
What's the main
trunk?
Trunk. Yeah,
tree trunk.
Tree log.
Tree log. So he wakes up in the bed, and Ezra's there, and he's like, "I can't let you leave."
But he's now in like the facility rather than his cabin.
And it's dun dun dun.
He's
like, a patient.
Here's your patient folder. Well, I don't know what you're talking about, Paul Walker. You've been here all along. Your family
finally.
And I only realized when we see it again later, but the file that he gives him that shows that the family are dead, he's highlighted the death date for both of them. It's the only thing that's highlighted on the whole file is the date of death for this daughter and the wife.
That's so weird.
Which is like, it's supposed to be for us, so we're like, ooh, but I didn't notice that at all.
No.
You probably didn't because you didn't have the right glasses on.
Yeah. But yeah, Ezra explains like, oh, your wife and daughter are dead. Like, what happened was you fell asleep smoking and you burnt the house down. So it's going back to him smoking. Story is, instead of you waking up, it burnt the house down. So now,
why did he survive?
No, and also
because he's the one next to the fire.
So they've built that story
from Linda Cardinelli's thing, right?
Have they though? I was thinking, like, how do they know that he?
They must have built it from his confession to Linda Cardinelli.
Surely they'd already have something in place.
Maybe they changed it. It's very stupid, yeah.
But yeah, they said, oh, that happened. You disappeared for several months. Then you were arrested, robbing a warehouse.
Yes.
There's no dog. You didn't have a dog. The cabin's been empty for 3 years.
He's like, oh, Mr. John Smith's cabin, that's been empty for years.
Yeah.
And he's also like, dogs aren't allowed on the premises. It's like, well, yeah, because it was in the woods. Like, it doesn't really disprove anything.
And then Ben's like, no, I'll show you, and gets this realtor video up again, and it's not Lisa. It's a different woman, a different daughter. So he's like, fuck this. Like, punches the orderly and runs off.
Yeah.
But then he's like tackled outside.
Yeah. And then he wakes up in his cell and he's like, ah. And then they like run in and drug him straight away.
Yeah. And I'm like, do we need to see that?
Pointless, really. Also, did you immediately think about the drawing under the cabinet when they said about the empty thing?
No.
I was immediately like, it's very easy to prove. There's a drawing under that cabinet that proves it.
But yeah, then he sees Linda Cardellini again.
Yeah, he's like, I think he's a bit like drugged at this point. He's just like chill, like sitting in the lounge.
And he's like, I hope you're not mad at me for the cabin. And she's like, what? I've never been to a cabin.
And he doesn't even push it. He's just like,
it's like, oh fuck, I am crazy, aren't I? And then he tells Ezra about the Merovingian that he's been seeing around.
Yeah, he kind of admits to, and he says about, the angelic imagery I was saying. He's like, that was all a hallucination. And he's like, oh no.
Yeah, and he's like, can I just be groundskeeper again with Robbie?
So then they give him a chainsaw and let him just go wander around.
Suddenly he's got a fucking chainsaw, and I'm like, are you sure about this? Like, these people are aggressively mental. You're giving him a chainsaw. But yeah, he's chatting with Robbie, and Robbie's like, "Are you my friend?" And he's like, "You're my best friend."
Just like, to be fair, like, his brother was a bit of a dick and died, so
yeah,
he is
his wife's dead,
and he's his only friend.
He's like accepted the what he's been told now.
Paul Walker's performance is so flat throughout the whole thing that it's really hard to tell what he's trying to portray.
Yeah.
Because we're talking about it now and I'm like, oh yeah, that was supposed to be him. Like, he's resigned to it until the next event happens in a moment. But the whole time he's just like, oh yeah.
Whereas like in Shutter Island, when it's the end and it's revealed and he's talking to the guy and he kind of, he says like, he's like, oh, what do you think? And he pretends to be a detective again. And then just he's leaving, he says like, is it better to like live imprisoned or die free? Implying that like he'd prefer to get killed than carry on. And it's just that line, because it's so well done by DiCaprio. It's like, you totally get where he's coming from.
I need to watch that film again.
Yeah, I need to watch Shutter Island again.
I've seen it like the once, I think. But so he's doing gardening. He's cutting a tree down.
He's cleaning that up, like cutting off loose branches and stuff.
Where is this? Outside the cabin?
No, outside the grounds of the hospital.
Is that where he was playing frisbee?
Yeah,
then? Right.
Because he then finds a frisbee and he's like, "What?" So he then goes to like a dog adoption place because he can still just go through the town.
It's just
and he's like, "Have you got any like sheep dogs that have come in recently?" And he's taken to a dog, and it's the dog. It's Dog the dog.
Dog the dog.
And he's like, "Fuck!" Like,
And then we don't see him adopt it, but he does.
Yeah.
Because it's with him.
And it turns out they were lying when they said that he was crazy.
Yes. And then he finally uses his lockpicking skills for the second time in the film.
Although, is it implied? Oh, no, it's not, because he's not actually crazy. Don't worry.
Is it implied what?
That he's constantly breaking out of prison every night and going to the cabin. But it's not. He's actually living at the cabin, isn't he?
They could have said that, but again, they didn't.
They didn't.
Yeah, he breaks into the office and looks on the computer records.
Yeah, and finds out that he's got an implant put inside him.
Yeah, I've got it here. Seligine implant. I don't know what that.
And there's a note in his file saying it's making him paranoid.
It's a treatment for Parkinson's disease, but I don't know why he'd have that.
Yeah, there's a note in it saying it's making him paranoid. Maybe we should take it out if he continues going bad.
And that's what his rash was in the arm. And also, I guess that's what the snake thing is.
Yeah, because the snake is the wire going into his arm.
Yeah.
And he looks up William, and he's the same thing. Like, they were both set for lethal injection. Both ended up having this implant put in. Both came here.
Although I don't think William's file mentions the implant at all. Because I paused.
No,
it
does.
Okay.
It does. I'm pretty sure. Yeah. Then he cuts his arm open and pulls out this little.
Because again,
implant.
he's got a little.
He's got like a Swiss knife.
He's allowed to have. Yeah.
And then he downloads the files onto a memory stick that he's got somehow for some reason.
Yeah.
And he goes to the cabin.
Yeah, and this is he's got an axe and he smashes open the wall, doesn't he?
Yeah, it's like completely empty in the cabin.
Yeah.
And he's like, what the fuck? Because they said it'd been empty. So he smashes through the wall with the axe and finds his picture, and he's like, I'm not fucking crazy.
And that's the picture of his daughter, and it's really weird. It looks like a weird, creepy, doll clown.
And then the dog's barking again and digging in this same spot.
Again, this is the first time we've seen the dog since it was in the adoption place, the pound. So we're supposed to assume that he took it out and left it here. It's very. It feels like maybe this was a 2-hour film and they edited it down.
Can you imagine if this was 2 hours?
It might have been better.
The dog's digging. He's like, oh fuck, I'll dig too.
Yeah, maybe you should listen to this dog. That's
digging in this same spot all the film. Yeah, and there's a wire under there, and he follows it. He goes into the house, pulls it from the wall. And basically leads behind a mirror, and he smashes the mirror, and there's a camera there, and he's like, they've been watching me.
And also, I know that camera would work for if he was looking at the mirror, but it's right in the corner of a room. It's and
it's just straight on.
It's just straight on, so it's just getting I
presume there's more cameras hidden around.
Yeah, I think that's what we're supposed to see.
And then it's cut, and we see the Merovingian is in a camera room watching, and he's like, oh, and no, he's like, where is he? We've lost Ben.
Yeah.
And he's switching between all the cameras in the hospital, and then they see a guy in the hood in the toilet, and they're like, he's there.
Yes.
Yeah. And the orderly goes in and is like, Ben, you need to go back to your cell. And you turn around and it's Robbie.
It's Rob. And he looks like he's trying to fix a sink. So right, yeah.
Presumably, did Ben tell Robbie to go there to help him out?
Yeah, I think he's put his clothes on and done it, but we missed that. But
and then as that happens, Ben barges into the camera room and attacks the Merovingian.
And he's got an axe that he used.
Yeah, and the Merovingian is crazy. It's shit scared. He's oh fuck.
He's a little nerd guy now. Before he was kind of mysterious and architect-y, but now he's just fuck, it's all gone wrong.
He's kind of like Ed Harris in the Truman Show.
Yeah. Does he, but he's quite in control, isn't he?
Yeah, but as in he's actually sitting behind the computers watching the whole thing.
Yeah. But I mean, but it's also weird that they wouldn't have just got an actor to do it. They get this key guy from the project to do it. And then he basically is chasing Avery through and goes to the chapel. And as he's about to kill him with the axe, which seemed kind of out of character for him, considering he's super against violence and guns.
Ezra's there's he basically explains the plans. Instead of killing people, we try to rehabilitate them.
Yeah.
By changing their mindset. Yeah. And Ben's this isn't rehab, this is torture.
Yeah, and he's got a point of rehabilitation instead of execution, but the manner in which they're doing it is so contrived and just so unreal. It would cost so much to do
and
this.
It'd be such like you said, a deep state conspiracy.
Yeah, they've moved him multiple states across kind of thing.
And Ben makes the point that Ezra killed William by pushing him through this. He's like, hey, he would have died anyway.
Yeah, he's like, and then later on he goes like, oh, like you're already dead, like kind of thing. Like he's kind of vaguely threatening him, but also no one's really.
He's like, everyone thinks you're dead, so like we can kill you here and it doesn't matter.
But yeah.
But then he says, oh, I've posted the memory stick to Lisa.
Yes.
And you see a quick flash of it.
Yeah.
And he's like,
so I think he's still got the necklace that he was wearing it on, but he's taken it off. But that's not really.
I think he's got more than one copy of it. He's still got the memory stick around his neck, but he's sent the hard drive.
Right, I see.
And he's basically saying like, if you don't let me leave, then she's gonna find that, and
I think he said in the note like, if I don't turn up, which is weird because then she's surprised later.
Do you think he got there before the post?
Maybe.
It's the only. And then it turns up, and he's like, right, here's what I've been going through for the last. Has it been 2 weeks? Has it been 2 years? Who knows?
I mean, how quickly he moved on with his new girlfriend, Julie. I think it's probably supposed to have been a little while at least.
See, then we cut to Lisa and the daughter.
Oh, well, he just basically walks out, doesn't he?
He jumps in a truck.
He steals the priest's pickup truck and just drives away.
Drives off. And then it's back with the wife and the daughter's had a dream that he lives in the woods.
Yes.
Weird.
Psychic daughter.
Yeah. And then he arrives.
She says like, oh, hopefully he'll come back to life like that Jaybirds.
Yeah.
And then the daughter falls asleep, and then a truck pulls up outside,
and
it's all very dramatic. She's looking through the shutters, the wind's blowing her hair. He gets out of the car, and he's got a dog.
Yeah,
she's like,
I was like, maybe she's crazy.
She can't believe it. And then
she runs out.
When we hear like the voiceover of the kid going, "What's the greatest thing you ever saw, Mummy?" And she's like, "I don't think I've seen it yet."
Yeah.
And then we get credits. Quite short credits.
And it's like happy ever after.
Yeah.
Oh.
It was a chore.
It really was a chore. and it's got an interesting. I mean, Shutter Island's good.
Well, this was released before Shutter Island.
Yes,
but the book of Shutter Island.
This was 2008. Shutter Island came out in 2010, but the book came out in 2003.
Yeah.
Obviously, the guy read the book and then made this film.
Yeah, it must have been. Yeah, I think it was really badly paced. It was really disjointed.
Badly edited.
It was dull. It was.
I feel like the performances aren't bad, except Paul Walker's. I think it may be direction thing as well. I don't think it's all Paul Walker's fault.
No, because there are some points where he does show kind of extremes
when
emotion.
He like screams like "Leave me alone," and he sees like he's breaking.
And again, when he's having the moments with his daughter. Before he's executed, you can tell he's supposed to be upset.
Yeah.
Even if it's not super realistic.
And like,
it's just throughout the rest of it, he's kind of just like, he's just going through the motions.
Yeah.
And for someone who's in the kind of effectively the peak of their career.
Yeah.
Like I was looking at the Fast and Furious films, and this is, so Fast and Furious. So he was in 1 and 2.
Right.
Oh, so he was in a bit of a lull actually, because 3 doesn't have him in it because it's like the weird side thing. So it was after this that the reboot of it, Fast and Furious 2009, happened.
So this happened. He's like, shit, I need to get back into Fast and Furious.
Or like he was like, I'll do this cheap independent kind of film to tide me over.
Yeah, it's just boring. It's so boring. Have you got? Oh, do you know what? I've mentioned my trivia. Have you got any other trivia?
Well, it's not really trivia, but there's also a 2008 novel called The Lazarus Project. So we might be able to cover that at some point about something completely different. It's about a teenage Jewish immigrant who was killed by police in 1908. One thing I thought was quite funny, I found this review on IMDb.
I saw some funny reviews on IMDb.
I don't normally look at them, but I thought I'll see what people think of
There's some comedy gold in there.
And this is by Catchup 193, and this was in March 2016. And the title of the review is "A hell of a lot better than Shutter Island."
How could you possibly think that?
Well, you'll find out. So he says, or they say, this film is similar in the plot like Shutter Island that came 2 years later. The difference is that this movie is a lot better. And I'm guessing Scorsese was greatly inspired by this movie. Only this wasn't a Scorsese picture with Leonardo DiCaprio in it, so nobody noticed this. Some of the best acting from the late Paul Walker. Those of you who think he was just a pretty face, watch this.
God.
We're only halfway through here. I don't want to give away too much, except to say the ending of the movie is a lot more satisfying than the stupid twist ending of Shutter Island. Another difference is this movie is very quiet in its pace and doesn't try so hard to come off as a horror movie like the moronic Shutter Island, because it doesn't need to. This person's really got something against Shutter Island.
Yeah, Shutter Island's good.
I definitely recommend this movie. And if you haven't seen either this or Shutter Island, watch this and pretend Shutter Island don't exist.
That's dumb. Your opinion's wrong.
Yeah, I just thought this person really hates Shutter Island. I thought that was quite fun. I went on all the reviews and I searched Shutter Island and I just looked through them. Like someone's got
Shutter Island is fundamentally better than this.
Yeah,
like even like the setup of him being a detective on the island.
Yeah.
There's more interesting.
There's some intrigue
with
to pull you through.
Mark Ruffalo being like his assistant, so like
there's
and it makes more sense because then he's got someone with him.
There's a character to lead him through.
This film doesn't make any sense. Like him just walking around, he's got like a fucking knife and a chainsaw and like
they're trying to get something to go wrong almost.
Yeah.
It's like, oh no, now you just go some clay pigeon shooting. Oh, you gotta oil this old World War II machine gun.
It's like, oh yeah, just go to the town with your machine gun and
it's ridiculous. It's so stupid.
It's Joe what? Like it's poorly directed, it's poorly made, the plot makes no sense, it's dumb. But worse than all of that is it's boring.
Yeah, that is truly the
like
worst crime.
A bad film can be enjoyable if it's bad. You laugh at it, it's silly.
Yeah.
A boring film is worse than a bad film. Like it's just it was so hard to watch this. Like
it was, yeah. And you know, it was a slog, but I'm very grateful that it was a fairly short film.
And
if it had been 2 hours, I would have had to do. I watched it today, so I would have had to watch it all, and I would have hated every minute of it.
I picked this film out because recently we've done like anime TV shows. We haven't done like a Hollywood film in a while, maybe since before Christmas. So I was like, I kind of fancy doing something like that.
To be fair, yeah. I mean, I was kind of looking forward to this at some point.
And I was like, I hadn't really seen Paul Walker in March. The Lazarus Project sounds interesting. Fuck me. Like you're picking the next one because clearly, fucking hell, like this was bad.
Yeah, it wasn't good.
Oh god.
Yeah.
And I had to watch it in 2 nights as well. 2 of my evenings were taken up by watching this because it was so boring. I couldn't watch it in one go.
Well, it's only 45 minutes. It's like 2 episodes of a bad series.
Oh my god.
Well, it's done now. We never have to watch this one again, so that's good. You can check it off the list. Woo.
Yeah. God. Yeah. Should we do ratings?
Yeah. I'm trying to think of. I think I might give it like a 3.
I was trying to think of some positives, and like I think the secondary characters are acted quite well.
Yeah,
I think Paul Walker's misdirected.
A miscast. I mean,
I don't think he's miscast. I think he could do this if he was given a good director. I think he could do this.
But maybe not. Maybe it's above his capabilities.
Yeah, possibly.
Maybe they need someone who can do a bit more kind of
emotional. You write it to suit his capabilities and have it more based on other characters than just him. If you have him be
more like constantly determined, like he's on a like make it a bit more actiony, where he's constantly like trying to do stuff and like he's quite good at being like determined on a mission, kind of focused.
But like, he's in every scene, and the other characters each have about 5-10 minute screen time each.
Yeah.
And they're all quite good, but he literally is in every scene.
That's the thing. It's very. I know Linda Cardellini's kind of. She hasn't done masses of stuff, even though she's quite well known.
Yeah.
It does feel strange she's in this at all. Almost like a favor to someone potentially. I don't know, or maybe, you know, sometimes
she's in like 3 or 4 scenes.
Sometimes they say, you know, that people are offered a role in one film in order to get a role in another film, kind of thing. It's like a studio.
Yeah, like we'll hire for you this if you do us a favor.
Yeah, which is why sometimes someone will be in like a really strange choice of film for them.
Like the guy that's in My Science Project, who's a teacher.
Bob Hoskins? No,
Yes.
was it Bob
What
Hoskins?
is it?
That was the first name that came to mind.
And when you said Bob, I was like, Bob Hoskins? I can't remember.
No, Bob Hoskins is that English guy who played Mario. Bob.
I'm looking up as well. But yeah, he like won an Oscar like the year after he was in My Science Project.
Yeah, he'd also just come out of rehab though, so
yeah, like this, it may not be the case, but Dennis Hopper,
yes,
not Bob Hoskins. But yeah, it felt like that kind of thing. And that's the thing. It's a well cast film. Like the people we spoke about at the start have got some decent roles in various different things.
It just doesn't commit to anything.
Like, I don't think I've ever written down so many things that I recognize people from as this film. And yet it's shit.
It really just doesn't do anything. Like,
it really does.
It spends way too long on the original stuff. Like the
robbery takes ages to happen, and like, then it spends like an hour of him just raking leaves and playing fetch and running through the woods.
Even the bits at the end aren't interesting as well.
Yeah, because by that point you're so tired out and you know the twist. You're just like, I don't give a shit anymore. Oh.
Anyway, what I think I'm going to stick with a 3 just because I know that's quite harsh compared to other ratings.
I was going to give it a 3, but I think I've talked myself.
See, I'm thinking maybe a 4 just because some of the stuff you've said.
Joe, I'm going to give it a 3. I was thinking about giving it a 2.
Okay, yeah.
But
I don't think it's worth a 4. I would never want to watch this ever again.
No, I'm trying to think. There's only been maybe 1 or 2 other things I've given a 3.
I mean, I think Science Project was much better than this. But
Science Project wasn't boring.
No,
it was
bad.
And
it was paced fairly well. It was
the
weirdly
pacing for this was
really
as well.
written, Science Project, but this was both really written and boring and badly paced. All 3.
And badly edited. Like
that was the real. I think they were trying to do something that was a bit confusing,
like
and
keep you in the edge of your seat kind of thing.
It was, like you said, everything was too snappy, just bad choices. Okay, so 3 and a 3.
Yeah,
2 3s.
Let's do that.
Lovely. Well, before we get into personal projects, I noticed a comment that I just saw on our YouTube right before we started recording. So kind of a mini letter segment here. It was just somebody called Minge Bridgetson 7, who commented on the Zeta Project's latest episode, saying, "Lovely alternative to music when riding the bus."
Oh,
and I just thought that's a very cute comment.
Nice.
So thank you. I hope I pronounced your name right. I probably didn't. It's probably Minga Brigson.
Oh, that is really nice.
Got a cute little avatar thing there. I'm liking it right now as we speak. So if you're listening to this episode, you can kind of follow along with me liking it. We'll do a reply on that at some point after we finish recording.
Cool.
We could do a live reply. Lewis, what should we say actually? Let's do a live reply.
Thanks for your comment. Much appreciated. That sounds so fake. Do you know what? They might listen to this.
Thanks for your comment. We are currently recording now and have read your comment.
Live on pod.
And then a kiss, and then a smiley face. I was going to do a kiss, but no.
Right.
Moving on to
person. Oh fuck! I thought you were going to do it. Now it's time for personal projects.
And this time, it's personal
projects. God. We've been doing that so well recently.
I don't know what happened. My voice just like stopped. Oh, bloody hell. Okay. Well, have you got anything off the top of your head there?
Give me a second. You go first.
I started watching 2 shows on Netflix. One is a kind of drama, kind of psychological, kind of cult thing called Archive 81. I don't know if you've seen anything about that.
No.
It's quite interesting. It's actually based on like a fiction podcast thing. Like those dramatized podcasts kind of thing. It's about a guy in New York who works as like a video and audio tape, like analog tape restorer. So there's quite a lot of cool stuff where he's doing stuff like that. He gets tasked with restoring this lady's project from 1994, where she went she went into like a weird Manhattan apartment to live. She was doing like an oral history project, and there's like a weird kind of devil worshipping cult there. And then he starts seeing, like, I think in one of the first episodes, he sees like his dad is in the video, and his dad died in like a mysterious fire, so he's got a personal connection. And then he has like a dream where he like knocks on the door to her apartment, and then he watches the video later on where the door gets knocked on. So it's like weird kind of time-space stuff happening. Cool. It's quite interesting, a bit of a slow burn. There's 8 episodes.
Was this a TV show?
Yeah,
was it on?
On Netflix, Archive 81. If you want like you can kind of like half watch it kind of thing. Quite cool. There's some good stuff with him in a facility on his own with the feeling of being watched, which this film we watched for this episode could have greatly benefited from some of the stuff they do there.
Cool.
So yeah, nice easy watch. Apparently it gets quite good about halfway through, so I'm going to power through and see what happens with that. But yeah. How about yourself?
Me and Christina the other day watched the Flintstones movie.
Right, okay. The John Goodman one?
Yeah, John Goodman's really well cast.
Very well cast, yeah. I can't say I've seen the whole thing in one go, but it's on TV a fair amount.
Yeah, it's not very good, to be honest. Like, it's quite fun because it's like live action Flintstones.
When is it, like early 90s?
Yeah, I think so. And one bit I like is like they had a newspaper and it's a picture of him, but it's the cartoon him.
Oh, cool.
And I was like, I like that. Yeah, it's just like it's fine. It's fine. But
they did another one after, I think.
Did they?
Yeah.
Oh, I'm not gonna watch that.
Sure
yeah, trying to think what else. I haven't played Spider-Man for a while.
Morales, yeah.
Since I last spoke about on here, actually, I was like, I listened back to it. I was like, oh yeah, I might 100% it in the next couple of weeks. Haven't played it at all.
I watched a couple episodes of the Cuphead show, which is an animated thing on Netflix based on the game that was 5 or so years ago. Very notoriously difficult platformer game. The show's really good. It's kind of like a regular show kind of vibe. Like they're chilling and then they go on a weird adventure. It's like literally like 10-minute episodes, so super easy to watch. And there's 12 episodes up on Netflix. So
cool.
If you want something chill, adventure time, kind of regular show vibes, I would. Kind of SpongeBob-y as well. They're both kind of like Patrick and SpongeBob, the two main characters.
Fair enough.
Kind of in design as well. He kind of looks a bit like SpongeBob in a way. But yeah. Good stuff.
I'm trying to think. Me and Christina watched some of The Good Place. She's watching through it for like the 5th time. The Good Place is good. I recommend it.
The Great Place.
Yeah. I mentioned before. Still watching a bit of that. It's good fun. I haven't been watching much.
There is something that we've been doing. We've got a new project.
For a second then I was like, what the fuck have we been doing?
The Silver Screen Project.
Silver Screen Project. We released the first episode recently.
Yeah.
So basically the idea is we kind of sat down and thought like big films come out and we don't really within our wheelhouse don't get to talk about it.
Yeah, that's right.
So we came up with this idea, like when a big film comes out, let's build up to it. So the first one we picked is the Batman.
Yep.
So for the build up of that, we're going to watch the Dark Knight trilogy.
Yeah.
And the Batman Begins episodes just come out.
Yeah.
15 minutes of us talking about that.
That's right. Much more concise than the usual format.
Yeah, more just like short and it's more films that people have seen, so we don't need to go into depth. It's just, hey, this is what we thought.
It's a kind of retrospective of like a series. Leading up to a new release.
So we'll release The Dark Knight and The Dark Knight Rises, and then the plan is to then do the Batman very quickly after that comes out.
Exactly. Yeah, and by the time this episode's released that you're listening to now, the Dark Knight episode will either have just come out or will be coming out shortly after.
Yeah,
depending on how we want to space them out. In future, I think we'll probably release them more over the month coming up to the episode.
Yes,
we kind of left this one. There's quite a lot of sourcing out with a new format and stuff.
Yeah, exactly. It's like when trying to start something new, but it'll be a fun side project to the project.
Absolutely, yeah.
With the Silver Screen Project.
Yes.
It'll be on the podcast list where you listen to this. It'll be, you probably would have seen it before we've spoken about this, to be honest.
But if you see that and you're wondering what it is, then hopefully this clarifies something there. We were going to add something in last episode, but we hadn't recorded the episode yet, so we didn't really know exactly what was
yes
what was
it's gonna be more of a sporadic thing instead of sticking to like a weekly schedule, just waiting for something that we're looking forward to come out and like build up to it. So we may release an episode every week or every few days and then have like a month break. And
that's it. It will be much more sporadic, but I think what we'll try and do is mention it prior to releases in future. So for example, I think the next one might be potentially Doctor Strange we might look at.
Quite possibly,
that's just off the top of my head. But if you think about kind of the stuff that we talk about normally, kind of big tentpole movies, superhero films, whatever, gives us a chance to have a bit of a chat on air about them.
Because otherwise we'll just like feed into personal projects and spend the whole time. I'm just looking at the schedule. The next thing, I've got oh, Joe, what? Before Doctor Strange, if we fancied it, there's Sonic and Fantastic Beasts.
Wow, what's that? Sonic and the Fantastic Beasts.
We could do Sonic, watch Sonic before Sonic 2.
I mean, I quite enjoyed Sonic.
I haven't seen Sonic.
Yeah, we could do that.
Or we could watch the 2 Fantastic Beasts films before Fantastic Beasts.
I fucking hated that second one. So maybe
the second one's terrible.
Maybe that'll be more interesting.
We'll Doctor Strange. We've got a few different things.
If you've got any feedback on this, we'll talk about where you can send stuff in a moment. But please do let us know if there's any series you particularly want us to work up to or cover. We've got a vague list of the big releases of the year, but we can add stuff, take away stuff. If you particularly don't want to hear us talk about Sonic, please do let us know. Make sure to add that into the list.
If you want to hear one of our classic rants and want us to watch Fantastic Beasts 2,
15 full minutes of it.
It should be better than the 30 minutes of that film. They just stand in a room, explain their backstories.
Oh, God. Yeah, I mean,
But let's save that for the Silver Screen Project.
Lovely. Well, thank you very much for listening to this episode. Hope it wasn't as much of a slog as watching the Lazarus Project was for us.
None of you ever have to watch that film now. You're welcome.
I mean, although this episode is currently an hour and a half, hopefully it'll be less painful.
More enjoyable than that. Jesus.
If you like this episode, please let your family and friends know about us. It's quite easy. Most places have a share feature on them. And if you want to leave us a review.
Like most services, give us a review. It doesn't take much time to do and really does help us out more than you'd realise. Helps get us added to lists and stuff. And it's just nice seeing the reviews. So give us 5 stars, write what you think. It's on all platform podcast services. As well as doing that, if you want to talk to us directly, you can get in contact with us.
Yes, you can. You can reach us at the projectpod@gmail.com. All other socials or all social medias are in the link tree, which is in the episode description. You can also search the Project on all social medias, all websites, all YouTubes, all Twitters, all TikToks. Not Bandcamp, actually. I've just realised. Maybe that's something.
I don't think TikTok's on Linktree because that's more of an app than a website.
Right, we can add that on though.
Oh, is it? Can it go on there?
Yeah, I think you can put whatever you want.
Oh, okay, cool.
We'll add that on. But yeah, if you search for us on most things, you'll find us. We're on like Podchaser and some weird ones as well.
Yeah.
Sorry if you love Podchaser, but it is a weird website. Anything else today, Lewis?
No, I think that is that.
Okay, well, thanks again for listening, and we'll see you very soon.
Hear you next week.
See you in the forest with a dog.
Oh God.